Hello, fellow trainers. This is Matthew Tait, reaching out to you to share a lesson on training, or at least a prospective lesson on training. I've had a recent experience which has brought up a question in me as to what the hell would you do? And so this little video is going to explore what would you do if somebody collapses, falls down in your training. How would it impact on the people around you? How would you look after the safety of the person? How would you handle the blowout potentially of your schedule? We've just experienced yesterday Rick's amazing 7th day, the last day of his trainer training journey, and our trainer training as students. And it was amazing. But it's a pretty tight schedule, and he does really well to keep it going along. Here's my question. What if somebody, like me, who had the bad back, collapsed in the training? What's that going to do? And that person is immobilized. How would you like to know how to handle that situation? Well, this is a question I'm putting to Rick. The reason I bring it up is because it happened to me through about 3 hours after the training was finished. I got an Uber to Southern Cross because I'm pretty sure there were no trains at Box Hill. I got a train from Southern Cross to Geelong, and then I got an Uber from Geelong, or North Geelong, to home. All of that sitting, especially in the Ubers where it's down low in a car, started to engage my back. And what happened to me last night, to continue my little metaphor here, is I got home really stiff and sore. In the taxi on the way home, I struggled to put on the seatbelt, the last Uber home. I struggled to get the seatbelt on because my back was starting to spasm a little bit. And so I pushed I actually flipped around like I was a sardine or a fish that's just been caught flapping around in the boat. Well, I was flipping around in the back of the seat of the car. And as I was flipping around in the back seat of the car, I was thinking, I'm not going to get this seatbelt on. The Uber driver's waiting. And eventually I pressed my back hard against the seat, and that seemed to stabilize it enough for me to get my seatbelt on. The trip home was a bit uncomfortable with my lower back not happy, as probably many of you saw. And then when I got home, I lay on the bed. Now, that seems to have been the worst thing I could do, because I couldn't get off the bed once I lay down for half an hour. Because every time I did, my back would spasm, and just was awful. I tried to shimmy myself to the edge of the bed, and I shimmied myself to the edge of the bed to try and stand up, and as I tried to stand up, the whole back seized up, and I'm on the ground. I lowered myself down, didn't hurt myself, but now, every time I move my leg at all, spasm. So now I'm stuck. I'm on the ground. I am dead in the water. I can't do anything. And I'm 100 odd kilograms. And my partner Anna's a 5'0" Indonesian petite lady. She's not moving me. And so, what do? I got on my phone. I checked that I was still an ambulance member, so that the fees would be lower if I did get an ambulance. And then I called an ambulance. They gave me the offer of a doctor, but my partner doesn't drive, and so I had an ambulance visit my house and take me off to emergency. And so my question is, what if that had happened in the middle of our training? Maybe in the middle of our speeches at the end, because this only happened 3-4 hours later. What would you do? What is the trainer going to do? Obviously, call the paramedics. Obviously, stop everything, because there would be literally a corpse lying on the floor in your training room. What would you do? That's my question to you. And so, I don't know what I'd do. I guess I would be just stopping everything, getting the paramedics, and of course that's going to lose you in your program an hour maybe. And so you get everyone to take a break perhaps. And so I'm just trying to think of all the things that Rick said. So anyway, I was taken off to hospital. But before they did, they gave me this happy gas, and it was like, wee! I don't drink much these days, and I remember, yep, this is what it feels like, wee! I was happy as a kite. And they took me, the two lady paramedics, off into the hospital. They administered me, or they got me in there, and they got me into the emergency department. And there was enough happy juice going on that I was comfortable with my back and its spasming. And so that's the question for you guys. What would you do if all of that happened in your training room? I'm trying to get a lesson out of this, and I was motivated to do this video because I only just got back from the hospital a couple of hours ago. This morning, when I woke up, every time I tried to move any more than this far with my legs, spasm. And I'm thinking, I am not going anywhere. But of course, the emergency department staff are motivated to get you up on your feet and just at least have you face it, see what they're dealing with, and assume like you're going home. My mind was like, there's no way I'm going home. Well, to my surprise, they gave me some drugs, about $7.50 this morning. I don't know what they were, I've got it written down there. And so what happened was, I thought I need to accelerate this because I'm not moving very fast. I would like progress. So what I did is I used a technique called spinning feelings. And what I did is I imagined the direction the feeling back here, this tightness, is spinning. And then I imagined the color. And then I also imagined spinning it the opposite direction. So for me, the spinning was going this way in my mind's eye, back here. And so I imagined it going back the other way. So the top is coming towards me. And that was the spinning direction. I changed the color because my mind has a perception that healing and calm and it all coming together, your body being well, it's purple, right? So I had this purple, and also I imagined it as a sphere, whereas I remember imagining the pain as a cube going that way with sharp edges, and I imagined the healing as a very smooth sphere going back the other way. And so I had this, I feel that did help. It got my mind not thinking negatively at the very least. And it did, and I spun it faster and faster, and it just sort of settled it enough for me to start to move. And I can't believe that within an hour, from I'm not going anywhere to I am now standing up. Of course, I edged my way off the bed. I edged my way just to have some breakfast that they gave me. Got my leg over the edge of the bed, and shimmied my bum a little bit, and eventually I stood up. It was a very slow process, and the nurses would come back, and each time they'd come back, I'd be slightly more upright. It was very funny. And so, back to the question, what would you do if all this happened in your training? What would the philosophy be? Ambulance. Your training is going to get blown out. You're going to have a corpse. Everybody's mind's going to be now distracted by the corpse, because I was a corpse last night. My body was just... And so, that's my little metaphor. And this morning I eventually got up and about. I was able to then just get into a taxi and come home on my own steam, which absolutely surprised me. I got home about 10:30, I think it was. So in two hours or so, I went from I'm not going anywhere to I am now walking like I am standing right now. And the reason I'm standing is that my back needs to just keep moving. I'm a little bit nervous about going to bed tonight, but we'll deal with that as it happens. I have some drugs, and my beautiful partner Anna's gone off to get prescriptions for me. Look, I just wanted to do this video. As new trainers, I have had a lesson straight away. And the lesson is, what if some bozo male doesn't look after himself, doesn't go and get some help when you're clearly not going well, and they persevere through the training and they happen to let go at that moment's notice in your training room? This is my question to Rick Schnabel. This is my question to any of you trainers. I think my strategy, as I think about it, obviously, everybody take a break. Ambulance straight away. Does he have, or she have medical insurance? Do they have ambulance cover? Ask them those questions to make sure there's no nervousness, because I went and I logged into my ambulance and I'm good till November this year. I had a 5-year membership. And so that could take an hour. So if you have an early lunch, that can kind of work. But of course, everyone's going to be concerned and you'll have to address it in the room as a trainer. So I'm trying to learn from my own little situation here. So rest assured, I'm well. I'm still very tight, obviously, and it's going to take some weeks to heal. The other side of the equation here is today I'm supposed to be right now in the middle of my workshop, and I thought, I've got energy up here to do this workshop. I need to spend it somewhere. And so I'm spending it on this video to present to you. I hope this has been valuable for you, my little escapade in the hospital, and just to think about what you would do in that situation and at least have a little procedure. Alright, we're going to call the ambulance, we're going to call a break first, we're going to get everybody out of the room, we're going to clear a space, that person gets whisked off and taken care of by the ambulance people, and then you would have to address the group and talk to them about that person being okay, but also the effect on training if it's a trainer's training. Or the context. You have to think about on your feet how you would handle that. And I think as a trainer it's really good if you can contact that person, though no one knows about it in this context. But what if it was, I'd collapsed in Rick's class? I know Rick would have reached out and contacted me and just seen how things are going, especially if it was day 3, and then he could then convey that to the group. So there you go, my little adventure today. I'm standing around getting my back going again. I just want to say also thank you to everybody in our trainers training who I'll send this video to. An amazing experience. I'm really stoked that I got through and that everybody had a great time and my back didn't impact on the training. And I wasn't the corpse in the room. I'm very happy about that. And I've got my piece of paper. You've all got your pieces of paper that says you are a trainer. So congratulations to everybody who was in that group. And think about it. What I just said. What if that was a corpse? Hopefully not an actual corpse, but a person just totally immobilized lying in your training room. It's a really good question, because I thought about it while I was in hospital thinking, what would have happened? And of course the person, I know I would have been embarrassed. Of course I would have. Apologising to everyone whilst in excruciating pain. Think about that for your training and just at least have a mental process in your head as to how you'd handle it. I'm sure it's probably in the manual somewhere. This is Matthew Tait, and thank you to all the trainers who joined me in trainers training, and thank you to any trainers who are prospective trainers who are watching this video. Like I said, I'm supposed to be doing an event. Well, this is the energy coming through this screen right now. Thanks very much, and I hope this asks a really interesting question of all trainers training.